as I scout this property, and I know the farmer, I know the hunter, and obviously I have permission to be here, but I want to talk to you about food plots being supplemental. And when I talk to a lot of people, some clients or whoever, YouTube, I get a lot of questions on Instagram, people message, and which is fine. But food plots are supplemental, programs. To me personally, I'm standing in a cornfield, probably 50 acres. I don't consider corn a supplemental feed. I mean, it does have a little bit of nutrition, but most corn in most situations are going to be harvested production corn, production ag, and there's no food for deer. And then when you harvest this corn, most people, farmers, aren't putting in cover crops such as winter rye, winter wheat, and you have bare soil, so you're not feeding the deer at all. And I was talking to the farmer here, which also is a hunter. He's telling me that he was supplemental feeding the deer by planting corn. And I said, do you harvest the corn? And he said, well, yeah. I said, well, how are you supplementing the deer if you cut the corn? And geez, cicadas, man. And I said, the corn's not feeding anything right now. It's not supplementing anything, right? And he was like, and he kind of looked at me funny and was like, he's like, you're right. He's like, I didn't think of it that way. I said, food plots are supplemental. If the whatever you're planting isn't feeding anything, how is it supplemental? Even if they didn't cut this corn, I guess if you want to consider corn, supplement, which I mean it is in a way, but corn is probably one of the least nutritious things that you could possibly supplement deer with. One is I don't think deer are actually meant to eat corn to begin with. A lot of people disagree with that. Some will agree. Doesn't really matter. It's just my opinion. There's opinions on everything. So I don't consider corn supplemental feed. A lot of people rely on food plots to feed their deer herd year round, and most times it's not feasible, it's not logical, because you can't plant enough acres to sustain the deer herd's needs of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds of food per day. Times that by how many deer you have in the area, it's not logical. So the important key to this is to realize that natural browse is the backbone. It's the backbone to all healthy deer herds. Without browse, you have nothing. Deer don't have anything. Food plots are supplemental in that aspect. And you also have to consider that most hunters are only planting whatever it is, a quarter acre, half acre, a 1 acre food plot. That's not going to be able to provide enough tonnage to provide that deer for, all winter long. It's just not enough food. So that's why natural browse is so important to a deer herd. And all along this woods line right here is all natural browse. You can see the deer are coming up. They're eating all the leaves off the trees and the overhanging branches. It's all bare right there. The browse, the honeysuckle, the ragweed that's coming up, the poison ivy, the greenbrier. All down in here you got all kinds of different bushes. Some of them I don't even know what they are, but they're eating them, right? Deer eat over 700 different species of natural browse depending on what part of the country you're in. There's over 700 different ones that deer consume. There's no way possible that you can plant enough food plots to feed that deer year round unless you're planting. Most hunters are planting 10, 20, 30 acres of food plots, and most time that's not realistic. So if you also have to consider real quick is that if we weren't here, right, we weren't planting food plots, we didn't do all this stuff that we do to try to feed the deer, what would the deer do? Are all the deer going to die? And the answer is no, they're not going to die, because they have natural browse, right? That's when they're born into this world, Mother Nature, they're born to eat natural browse. Food plots are browse that we plant. They're food that we create, green and growing plants, to help supplement their diet. And this also goes back to another important topic with this is they say the bag of clover they bought says, you know, 30% protein. I say, okay, well, did you soil test your soil where you planted? They said no. I said, okay, did you add fertilizer? No, I didn't add fertilizer. Did you add lime? No, I didn't add any lime. I said, did you tissue sample the clover? No, what does that mean? See what I'm saying? Just because a bag of clover or whatever it is you plant says 30% protein don't mean anything, because if the nutrients aren't there in the soil to provide that piece of clover the correct nutrients that it needs, that clover never has the ability to reach 30% protein, right? So it doesn't matter what the bag of seeds says. It goes back to what's in your soil, how you're treating the plants, and that's why myself and many others like to foliar feed, because you're bypassing the soil. You're giving the nutrients directly to that plant. Don't matter what the soil is. We're giving it directly to the plant so you can up the digestible proteins and, you know, the mineral content in that plant and all that. So when you go to buy a bag of clover, don't go by the bag where it says 30% protein, because if you're not following the proper steps, you're never going to achieve that. Most natural browse, you know, without us doing anything, without us foliar feeding anything, you might get 9, 10, 11, 12, you know, 15%, you know, protein out of it, you know, especially ragweed. Ragweed is very high in protein. But, you know, when we foliar feed that, we're getting a lot more out of it, 18, 20, 22, 24% protein. And so when you're planting food plots, this goes back to what I was saying before, is a lot of guys will say, well, I'm planting my food plot, so I'm giving the deer higher nutrition than what's around. And it goes back to my same point. No, it's not. Did you soil test? No, I didn't soil test. Did I add lime? Did I add fertilizer? No, I didn't do either one of them. Did you take a tissue sample to see what the clover is to show that what you're providing is more than the natural browse? No, I didn't do that. So you just have to be careful what you do, and you have to have realistic expectations on what you're doing. And it's there's just so many, there's so much talk and gimmicks, you know, within the Facebook community and hunting communities, where, you know, people will say some silly stuff to where, oh, I'm giving deer 30% protein. Well, did you just do everything that I just mentioned? Well, no, I didn't do it. Well, then you can't say that you're giving 30% protein, because it doesn't make sense, right? So keep that in mind, and realize that food plots are supplemental, right? Most times they're not feeding the deer herd year round. Be careful with that. Be careful what you plant in the fall, because they'll wipe you out fairly quick, especially with brassicas. Sometimes winter wheat, winter rye, some oats are a better option. Realize that, research it, learn as much as you possibly can throughout each year. Test things for yourself, and that way, as years go on, you can see for yourself what works and what doesn't work. So if you guys have any questions, post them down below. These cicadas are tearing me up, hurt my ears, buzzing. Crazy, I got like 2 of them right there on my camera. But leave a comment down below if you guys have any questions. I really hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new, give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you guys on the next video.